All rise for the jury. Members of the jury, we will be taking our adjournment for the day, but I wanted to give you an idea of a little bit of time frame now that we're getting closer to the end. We expect that we'll be moving to the defense case tomorrow, and accordingly we expect that we'll finish all the evidence in this case by the end of the week, possibly with even Friday off. My preference is not to make the attorneys close on Friday, because when they close, this case will be submitted to you for deliberation, which means at that time, as we warned you long ago in jury selection, you'll be sequestered. If I were to have closing arguments on Friday, that would mean you'd be sequestered in your weekend, and I don't know if you have any plans. I'm not going to do that. My preference is to give the attorneys more time to prepare their closing arguments and have the closing arguments, we predict, on Monday. At that point, you will be sequestered. So just wanted to kind of give you that so you can plan your own lives around that. And we will see you tomorrow about 9:15. Thank you.
Get ready to rumble!
Kumusta mga ka-juror? Lalo na mga kaitsapwera. Narito na naman tayo sa ating Sentido-Kumon. Sentido-Kumon nating mga juror. Talasan po natin ang ating mga mata, ang ating mga tenga, ang ating mga pakiramdam para matuto tayo ng husto dito sa kaso ng malatukhang na nangyari kay George Floyd. Malatukhang. Take note. Mga kaitsapwera, pakinggan po natin ang dahilan kung bakit yung akusado, ang dating pulis si Derek Chauvin, ayaw tumistigo. Ay, tumistigo. Oh.
Mr. Chauvin, you and I have had several discussions throughout the course of my representation of you relevant to your right to testify or to choose to remain silent, correct?
That's correct.
And during the course of our representation, it's fair to say that you and I have had this conversation multiple times, correct?
Correct.
You understand that you have a Fifth Amendment privilege to remain silent. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You understand that if you choose to exercise that right to remain silent, neither the state nor the court can comment on your silence as a sign or an indication of your guilt. Meaning they can't say, he didn't get up and defend himself, so equate your silence with guilt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. Now, you also understand that you can waive that right and testify. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
You understand that if you chose not to testify, or if you did in fact testify, you would be subject to cross-examination by the state of Minnesota.
Yes.
You understand that if you were cross-examined by the state, we could not attempt to limit the scope of your testimony. The state would be given broad latitude to ask you questions. Do you understand that?
Yes.
We've had this conversation repeatedly, correct?
Correct.
I have repeatedly advised you that this is your decision and your decision alone.
Correct.
I have advised you, and we have gone back and forth on the matter, would be kind of an understatement, right?
Yes, it is.
But after a lengthy meeting last night, we had some further discussion, agreed?
Correct.
And have you made a decision today whether you intend to testify or whether you intend to invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege?
I will invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege today.
Mr. Chauvin, I'm going to address you directly because the decision whether or not to testify, let me take this off, is entirely yours. In other words, it's a personal right. Mr. Nelson makes a lot of the decisions in trial, but one he cannot make for you is whether or not you testify. And he can give you advice, and you can take that advice or reject that advice. But the decision ultimately has to be yours and not his. Is this your decision not to testify?
It is, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have any questions about your right to remain silent or to testify on your own behalf?
Not at this time, I don't.
All right. Does anyone promised anything or threatened you in any way to keep you from testifying?
No promises or threats, Your Honor.
Do you feel that your decision not to testify is a voluntary one on your behalf?
Yes, it is.
Now, in addition to that, I'm convinced then that this is your personal decision and that you are aware of your rights, but there is a jury instruction that may be read to the jury. This, again, is the one that you get to weigh in on. It's not for your lawyer to make the decision. Again, he can give you advice, and I don't want to know what the advice is, but you can accept the advice or reject the advice as to whether or not to give this instruction. If you would like, I can read this instruction to the jury. It's titled, Defendant's Right Not to Testify. The state must convince you by evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of the crime charged. The defendant has no obligation to prove innocence. The defendant has the right not to testify. This right is guaranteed by the federal and state constitutions. You should not draw any inference from the fact that the defendant has not testified in this case. Do you understand that instruction?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you like that read to the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you had enough time to talk to Mr. Nelson about whether that's a good idea or not?
I have, Your Honor.
All right, and so I will read that to the jury on your request.
Thank you.
All right.
Your Honor, the state of Minnesota rests.
Mr. Nelson, anything further? No, Your Honor. All right, members of the jury, the evidence is now complete for this case. Next step for you is to listen to closing arguments and then retire for deliberations. That'll occur on Monday. The attorneys and I will still be working. We have a few administrative matters and legal matters to take care of. Most importantly, going over the law that I will give you in my instructions. And that takes quite a while. And so we are not going to change our schedule. We're not going to close tomorrow. We're going to close on Monday. And so with that, remember, you will be sequestered. We have some of your questions, and we're going to try and answer as many of those as we can. I think the one thing that you need to know today as you leave is, how much do I pack? If I were you, I would plan for long and hope for short. Basically, it's up to the jury how long you deliberate, how long you need to come to a unanimous decision on any count. And so because that's entirely up to you, whether it's an hour or a week, it's entirely within your province. So that's how I would do it if I were you. We'll also give you some information probably Monday as you retire as to other questions that don't require your immediate attention. And we will also be probably giving you some hints as far as technology. We will be operating under the rules that are currently in place regarding audio and video evidence. And that is specifically that you will be provided with a laptop computer that has all the audio and video, in fact, pretty much all the exhibits in this case, on the computer, and with a large monitor to play them. You will not have to come back into the courtroom each time you want to look at the audio or video, which is the old rules, which involves a lot of back and forth. We're not going to do that. We're just going to give you that computer with the arrangements so that you can view it as you deem appropriate as part of your deliberations. So with that, I wish you a good long weekend, and we will see you Monday morning. We will convene at 9 a.m. for closing arguments and final instructions.
Isisequester ang mga juror pagdating sa period of deliberation. Ito yung panahon na natapos na yung paglilitis, nakapagbigay na rin ng kanya-kanyang closing argument ang abogado sa magkabilang kampo. Papasok na sa jury room itong mga jurors. 12 na lang sila. Wala na iba pa. Wala na doon yung judge, wala na doon yung mga abogado, wala na doon yung mga testigo, wala na ring audience. Sila-sila na lang. Magbabalitaktakan sila para makabuo ng unanimous decision. Guilty o kaya'y inosente. Ibig sabihin, pagkatapos ng deliberasyon nila sa isang araw, not necessarily tapos na talaga, kundi yung isang araw lang. Napagod na sila. Halimbawa, nag-deliberate sila for 23 hours. Siyempre, pagod na sila. O ngayon, imbis na uuwi sila sa kanilang mga bahay, dadalhin sila sa isang undisclosed location. Yung hindi pinapaalam. kahit kanino, kung saan sila dadalhin. Gwardyado po sila doon para walang makalapit sa kanila na maaring si sindikato o kaya ay magmamanipula sa kanilang hatol. At yan pong sequestration na yan ay mangyayari sa loob ng kung ilang araw aabutin ang kanilang deliberasyon. Tandaan po natin, hindi po natatapos minsan sa isang araw. Pero meron din namang napakabilis lang. Wala pang 10 minuto. Tapos na deliberation. Meron na silang hatol. Oh, meron namang iba ay naabot ng kung ilang araw. Katulad halimbawa, nung kaso na RICO case ni Madam Imelda Marcos sa New York. RICO case, ito'y kaugnay doon sa kanyang mga binili ng mga Marcoses na mga ari-arian, real estate properties, mga work of art, artworks at mga alahas worth, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, $221 million na umano ay galing sa nakaw na kayamanan. Pera natin, ninakaw nila. Inabot, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, hindi pala ganyan, 2 lang yan. 11 araw ang deliberasyon bago sila na nakapagpalabas ng unanimous decision o verdict. Ang kwentong ito ay kaugnay sa isang dating pulis sa Minneapolis na si Derek Chauvin na akusado sa pagpatay kay George Floyd noong 25 ng Mayo 2020. Noong na nakarang taon, si Chauvin ay rumisponde sa isang tawag sa 911 ukol sa isang Black American na di umano ay peke na $20 bill ang ibinayad sa kanyang binili na sigarilyo. Kalaunan, napag-alaman na yung Black American ay si George Floyd. At ang siste, etong si George Floyd ay namatay hindi sa pagitan ng mga kamay ni Derek Chauvin, kung hindi sa kanyang tuhod. Namatay si George Floyd. Kaya mga kaitsapwera, gaya sinabi ko, talasan po natin ating mga mata, tainga at pakiramdam para maikumpara natin ang kaibahan sa meron tayong trial by palakasan o hukuman trial by palakasan kumpara sa meron sa Amerika na hukumang trial by jury. At kung bakit tinawag na puso, esensya at pundasyon ng demokrasya, hukuman trial by jury. Ating isaalang-alang dito na ang may sala o ang akusado ay isang pulis at ang biktima, bukod sa minority, Black American, hinihinalang drug addict pa o at least user ng ipinagbabawal na gamot. Pahiwatig ng abogado rito ng depensa na dating pulis na si Derek Chauvin, maaring sa droga o droga ang may dahilan, ng pagkamatay ni George Floyd. Medyo pinahiwatig din ng testigo na depensa na maaring may kinalalaman din ang carbon monoxide na ibinubuga ng tambutso ng police car. Doon sa punto na maaring may kinalaman ng droga, may tinukoy ang depensa na nakita di umano sa bibig ni George Floyd na kulay puti na substance. Sagot naman ng abogado, ng prosecutor or special prosecutor. Aba, chewing gum yun, chewing gum yun. Chewing gum. Kapag sinabi ko na ito ay malatukhang, sounds familiar? Ang tanong talaga rito, no, ha, na nagmamakaawa para may tanong, makakalusot kaya sa mga juror ang mga palusot katulad ng madalas kaysa minsan ating nasasaksihan dito sa ating hukuman trial by palakasan na yung mga palusot laging nakakalusot. Siyempre, kung ikaw ang malakas. Pero doon kaya sa mga juror, juror na kinabibilangan ng isa-isayin natin. Ang mga juror na bumubuo ng trial jury sa kaso ni Derek Chauvin ay kinabibilangan ng juror number 2, isang white male, nasa 20s ang edad. Juror number 9, ito ay multiracial woman, nasa 20 anyos din, or thereabouts, ano ha? Ang juror number 19, isang white male na nasa 30s ang edad. Juror number 27, isang black male, nasa 30s din ang edad. Ang juror number 44, isang white woman, nasa 30 anyos din, higit kumulang, vicinity ng nasa 30s. Isang black male, 30s din. Isang white woman, 50s. Isang black male, 40s. Isang multiracial woman, 40s. At number 89, juror, prospective juror, hindi na prospective ito, impaneled na eh. Juror number 89, isang white woman. Number 91, black woman na nasa 60s na. Number 92, white woman, 40s. Number 96, white woman, 50s. So, ibig sabihin na ito, mga kalayang banggi, batay doon sa kanilang mga juror numbers, no po, na ang pinakamataas ay, na numero ay pang 96. Ibig sabihin, at least, ito ang pinagpilian dito ay ang kabuuan bilang ay 96. Pinakawalang-wala, baka sumobra pa nga sa 96, hindi lang napili yung iba. Is flight an indication of guilt? Kapag walang itinatago, bakit matatakot tumistigo? Hitik ang ating jurisprudence sa mga ganong pananaw. Yung bang takbo ng takbo, parang manok na takbo ng takbo na wala ulo. Pero malinaw, ha? Narinig natin, nadinig natin ang sabi ng judge. Huwag ninyo agarang ipagpalagay o husgahan si Derek na guilty sa dahilan lamang na ayaw niyang tumistigo. Tama na naman, din naman si judge. Pero isang bagay pa tiyak, mga kay Chapuera. Yung instruction ng judge sa mga juror, suhestyon lamang yun. Hindi niya pa rin po pwedeng utusan o igiit yun sa mga juror na wag gawing basihan yung sinabi niya. And the final analysis, desisyon ng individual na juror ang mananaig sa trial by jury. Nasa kanyang paninimbang yun, nasa kanyang paninimbang. Kabaliktaran naman ang nangyayari dito sa atin. Sapagkat yung batas na mismo, yung ating mga batas, may tila bagang mga suhestyon lamang. Parang polisiya sa DTI, suggested retail price. Hindi po ba? Madalas natin nasasaksihan yan sa mga husgado. Malinaw. As sabi ng judge sa mga juror, nasa inyo yun kung gaano katagal ninyo matatapos ang deliberasyon, ang balitaktakan, hanggang sa mahimay nyo lahat ng posibleng isyu ng maplansya at masigurado ng inyong inilalapag o ilalapag na verdict o hatol ay katarungan. New rules! Aba, leveling up ang jury justice system sa Amerika. Kung noong araw, kapag may gustong kunin etong mga juror habang sila ay nasa deliberation mode, kailangan pa nilang utusan yung nakaantabay sa labas ng kanilang pinto, yung bailiff, na kunin kung ano man yung mga impormasyon, yung mga ebidensya, testimonya, at dalhin sa kanila. Ngayon, iba na. Binibigyan na o bibigyan na mga juror ng laptop. At naroon na lahat ng impormasyon patungkol sa kaso, lahat ng ebidensya, lahat ng testimonya within their fingertips. May monitor pa sila. Ha? Para doon ibabato kung ano yung kanilang hindi pinagkakasunduan. Nang sa ganun planchadong gagawin nilang hatol o verdict. Dapat din lang naman, sapagkat ang numero unong prinsipyo pagdating sa paglatag ng katarungan ay justice delayed is justice denied. Dito sa atin sa Pinas, kumusta naman po? Aba! 30 anyos, mahigit na 30 anyos sa mga kaso, natutulog pa rin. Sa Sandigan Bayan, lalo na, pagka-korupsyon, kasong korupsyon, no, ha? Binabayaran nila, tawag na doon, parking fee. Pero ako tawag ko doon pinatutulog sa filing cabinet, no, ha? Complete with lullabies. Sleeping filing cabinet. Bukas, araw na Biyernes doon sa USA. So, pahinga yung mga jurors. Pati na yung judge. Hindi, yung judge, tatrabaho pa rin. Kasi marami sila ginagawa eh. Yung mga jurors na pinagpapahinga ng judge. At pagdating ng araw ng Lunes, dito sa atin, Martes, sapagkat ahead tayo ng one day kaysa sa kanila, doon magaganap ang closing argument ng magkabilang kampo. Ito, maganda ang tabayanan. Tingnan natin kung gaano katindi yung kanilang convincing power para katigan sila ng mga juror. So, Martes po yun. Magaganap, no ha? Martes, araw din sa atin. Araw ng Martes sa atin, sa kanila, Lunes. At pagkatapos ng closing argument, umpisa na ang jury deliberation. At pagkatapos ng jury deliberation nila, bawat araw, nakasequestered yung mga juror. And so, to recap, sa kabuuan, 15 araw na paglilitis, tuloy-tuloy ha, araw-araw, mula alas 9, sabi ng judge palagi, alas 9:15 o alas 9:30 ng umaga, hanggang hapon na yun. So, average, 7 oras, more or less, no ha? Hindi, more than 7 hours kung kukunin mo yung average na paglilitis araw-araw. Sa tansya ko, hindi aabutin na isang araw ang jury deliberation sapagkat malinaw na malinaw para sa akin yung mga batayan, no ha? Na talagang si George Floyd sa tuhod ni Chauvin namatay at syempre naka-video, ha? Real time at free per view sa buong mundo. Paano malalagpasan yun ni Chauvin? Ngayon, ang palusot nila na nakikita natin na yung namatay si Floyd dahil sa droga na nandun sa kanyang katawan. O kaya sa carbon monoxide na galing sa tambutso. Paano mangyari yun? Disin sana, sila lahat ng mga nandun, nag-uumpukan, patay. Dahil nalalanghap naman nila yung carbon monoxide. Pare-pareho. Paano? Abangan natin. Sa Martes. Ho! Siyempre, ako pa rin po inyo lagi nakandang maglingkod. Mr. Juror, 6 to Kilatis Nagari po lamang. Dapat lang. Juror ka. God bless us all. God bless Philippines. Tara na!
Thank you so much. All rise for the jury.